Hey, believe your lying eyes. Oh, we, God. So what's going on out there? This is kind of in keeping with the theme for the week. Been talking about how permission structures are built and exist, and how that emboldens and empowers the psychopaths, the radical leftists. And you might think that this next story actually offers some uh, pushback on that narrative, right? So, what did we just see? Last night, apparently, Ilhan Omar was attacked by a crazy right winger. Okay. I'm going to poison the well a little bit before I show you the video on purpose. I want to ask you, when's the last time you saw a legitimate crazy right winger attack somebody? I've, oh, Aaron Olson with the mic check.
Yes, there we go. Mic check. That should be better. When's the last time you saw a crazy right winger attack somebody? Well, if we're to believe our lying eyes, it was last night.
Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment.
Oh, wait. Did anything there look just a little bit suspicious? Watch the head nod.
Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment.
See, she pauses and she does that little head nod. Well, you're just trying to find something there, Lowry. You're just you're making it up. Believe your lying eyes, right? Oh, you're trying too hard. You're making something up. Am I? Let's take a look. Of course, I've got the another angle.
Resign.
And here, I mean, come on, guys. Come on.
Resign or face impeachment. Resign.
She makes eye contact with him and gives him a little nod. She pauses, makes eye contact, gives him a little nod, right? And what reporting we have appears to say that the liquid had a strong vinegar smell. We've talked about asymmetric warfare, and yeah, she looked right at him. We've talked about asymmetric warfare. There's something else that's been popping up in the conversation this last couple days that's worth paying attention
with
to
needles
as well.
on the end.
Let me get this video queued up. Do. Pay attention to what this girl's saying.
I thought of something good. I think it's something weird spot. Sabotage tactic, or at least scare tactic. All the medical providers, grab some syringes with needles on the end. Have them full of saline or succinylcholine, whatever. That will probably be a deterrent. Be safe. Okay, for today's resistance.
She did that thing that will probably be a deterrent. Right? She made that insufferable face. Right? It's the same face we saw Don Lemon make the other day. We went in with the protesters and we did an act of journalism. That insufferable smug face. Correct shots, hypocrite. I think you mean hypocritic oath. But she goes on.
Tip, I vote. Anybody got any poison ivy, poison oak in their yard? Get some of that up with gloves, obviously. Get it in some water, like a gallon of water. Get some Get the poison ivy oak water, and I'm going to put it into a water gun. Aim for faces, hands. All right, the single ladies where these ice guys are going have a chance to do something, you know, not without risk, but could help the cause for sure. Get on Tinder.
Help the cause. So we're to believe that all of a sudden, when it's really convenient, there's this unhinged, crazy white conservative, and then of course there's this, immediately there's this Newsweek article, like this was. Do I understand this correctly? The event happened last night, right? It was breaking news last night, and of course, already there's memes about it. Thankfully, the internet is already jumping all over it and pointing out the obvious madness here. My links are all out of order this morning. Sorry about that, but already we've got this article. A man has been arrested after Democrat Representative Ilhan Omar was sprayed with an unknown substance during a town hall in Minneapolis. And we don't need to spend too much time on the article, but it's a long article. All things considered, there's a lot here. Right? And, we're talking the day after the event. How long did it take them to identify and arrest the guy who assassinated Charlie Kirk? And we've still got, okay, fair play. They grabbed this guy when it happened. There was security on scene that handled that quickly. But that even raises the question, how was there not sufficient security to make the grab when Charlie Kirk was murdered? And something else that's worth looking at, conservative commentators have been doubling down on their security, right? The big names, right? Your Steven Crowders and your Tim Pools, your what's the little Jewish guy? Ben Shapiro. They've all spoken about how they've had to hire a bunch more security, and security's super expensive. Even the chick that took over CBS News was Barry Weiss. Having to double down on the security. And it's been made very, very clear that the leftist commentators and the lefty politicians just do not have the same security concerns. Right? Well, we live in a culture that is permissive. That's been a part of the running theme this week is whatever the actual truth is, whatever the actual facts on the ground are, the visible reality that people believe is that left-wing violence goes unpunished, is permissible, and right-wing violence is manufactured and then treated as if it's the end of the world. And I say manufactured, violence like this it's like racism. It's like racism in America. There is a huge market demand and zero supply. That's how hoaxes like the Jussie Smollett thing, the Bubba Wallace hoax, right? There's a laundry list of these hoaxes for against the evil white racists and the evil rapist frat boys. There's a huge demand for that in the media marketplace, but there's no supply. So the supply has to be manufactured to meet the demand. You're seeing hoaxes because just like any other supply demand relationship, if there is a dearth of supply to meet a rising demand, then manufacturers will counterfeit the supply needed to meet that demand. Right? If you've got 50 million American women who want a Louis Vuitton bag, and he's only producing 5,000 a year, then you're going to get Filipinos and Vietnamese doing knockoffs that say VL instead of LV and selling them out of trench coats in New York. If there is a demand without a supply, then the supply will be counterfeited and manufactured. A demand will be met so long as there's a profit in marketing and manufacturing the supply. That's why the hoaxes come at you. But let's not forget who we're talking about the supply coming from, right? It started off with James. Let's watch this clip. Tish James. This is from 2018, right? So this is from Trump's first term. Tish James running for office. This is before the lawfare kicked off.
Will you sue him for us? Oh, we're going to definitely sue him. We're going to be a real pain in the He's going to know my name personally.
That man in the White House who can't go a day without threatening our fundamental rights.
Yes, we need to focus on Donald Trump and his abuses.
They say that over and over again. He threatens our fundamental rights. He threatens the Constitution. He abuses us. They don't say how. What fundamental right has Donald Trump threatened? Right? What fundamental right? Listed. It's like the seditious six. You don't have to follow illegal orders. Okay, yeah, no shit. We know that. We know that. It's every soldier's duty to refuse illegal orders. But that's a orders for a soldier to get away with refusing to follow an order based on the idea that the order is illegal, in order for him to survive that through a court martial and defend that position. Yes, the law makes a provision for it, but it's very, very explicit. The order must be manifestly unlawful. Right? If the order is not explicitly something along the lines of, hey, private, I'm giving you a direct order to commit this crime, then you're talking about something entirely different. Right? And that, even that gets muddier because, hey, let me tell you something about being a warfighter. There are things that we do in war which are not war crimes, but are absolutely major crimes if we were to do them in garrison. Oh, back in CONUS, right? If you're home in the United States, there are many things that we do in war that are perfectly legitimate, perfectly legal, not war crimes, not forbidden by law of land warfare or the Geneva Convention, or even controversial inactivity, right? But are absolutely crimes here. I have done plenty of things in war that I would absolutely belong in jail for if I did them here. Right? For example, identifying the head of a terrorist organization, entering his home in the night, stuffing him in a black bag and dragging him out screaming. I love doing that shit. I'd love to do that shit today, but it's a crime here. It's not a crime when you're at war. That's an important difference. It might be worth discussing whether or not we're at war, and I think I can offer some pretty compelling evidence to that claim, but I'm retired. But back to Tish James. She ran on, I'm going to get Donald Trump.
We need to follow his money. We need to find out where he's laundered money. We need to find out whether or not he's engaged in conspiracy. It's important that everyone understands.
Now, she said those things. We're going to assume that he's laundered money. We're going to assume that he's engaged in conspiracy. Now, I've made similar claims about Democrats, but there's an important part. There's an important part here that has to be considered. When we talk about money laundering, conspiracy, defrauding the American people, stuff like that, vis-a-vis its relationship to Democrats, the evidence of that is overwhelming. That the Russia hoax was a hoax that was intentionally crafted from whole cloth and funded by Democrat involvement is not a statement in controversy. It is a proved fact. One which, by the way, has seen no major investigation, prosecution, right? No consequences. No intelligent person thinks that Hillary Clinton did not spearhead a hoax in order to delegitimize the 2016 election and initiate the original impeachment proceedings against Donald Trump. But she's free as a bird. Meanwhile, you've got people like Tish James saying, we're going to make up charges. We're going to go get it.
The days of Donald
right?
Trump.
But it doesn't stop there, right? Like I said, that video was from 2018. What's going on today? We've got this guy. Here you go.
Hi, this is Elliot Forehand, candidate for Ohio Attorney General. I want to tell you what I mean when I say that I am going to kill Donald Trump.
Oh, really? You're going to make that reasonable for me. And I want you to pay close attention to how he explains this. I want you to pay close attention to how he explains this.
I mean, I'm going to obtain a conviction rendered by a jury of his peers at a standard of proof beyond a reasonable doubt, based on evidence presented at a trial conducted in accordance with the requirements of due process, resulting in a sentence duly executed of capital punishment. That is what I mean when I say that I'm going to kill Donald Trump.
He actually makes that sound kind of reasonable, doesn't he? Well, the law provides for the execution of certain criminals at a certain level. And so I'm just saying, Donald Trump, we're gonna pursue prosecution and we're gonna convict him and we're gonna follow all the rules exactly the way they're supposed to. For what? What's the crime? Right? So be clear. This guy has just stated his intent is to arrest, prosecute, and execute Donald Trump. And I'm going to do it the way the law says you're supposed to do it. Okay, here's the thing, though. Question. What are you going to arrest him for? Because what you've just told me is I've decided I'm going to kill Donald Trump. I'm going to use the law to do it. Brother, if you make that statement without saying what it is he did, what the crime is, and why that crime carries the death penalty, then what I hear is show me the man and I'll show you the crime. What I hear is you can indict a ham sandwich and then you can murder that ham sandwich. You can use the overwhelming power of the state monopoly on violence to cause the death of this person. And we can decide ahead of time that our objective is to cause this person's death. We don't need a reason, right? It would be one thing, it would be different if we were looking at somebody who committed a major crime, who I don't know, let's say Donald Trump took one of our UAVs, one of our unmanned aerial vehicles, for example, and flew it overseas into a country with whom we're not currently at war and blew up a totally non-military target. For example, let's say a civilian cafe, and there just happened to be an American citizen in that cafe. I don't know, maybe his name's something like Anwar al-Awlaki, and And that American citizen was related to someone who was also a citizen, but involved with terrorism. And many of us might even argue that it was a legitimate target if prosecuted correctly within the confines of the law. And he decided to just blow him the fuck up with a U.S. military asset in a country with whom we're not at war. Completely extrajudicial. And we were to say, okay, whoa. This was clearly the president. This was like painfully, obviously the president of the United States murdering an American citizen with a U.S. military asset. We should prosecute him and he should be executed, because that would be the logical end result of prosecuting the president who abused his military authority to murder an American citizen with a military asset. That would be the logical outcome of that prosecutorial process, right? But just say for, hypothetically, a president were to do that. Then if you started by saying the president did this, he murdered an American citizen, and so therefore I intend to
Trump. I mean, I'm going to obtain a conviction.
A conviction for what? Yes, Crackshot, I'm talking about Obama. Yes, Obama did that thing that I just described. Again, that is an incontrovertible statement that is supported entirely by the fact pattern, so much so that Obama doesn't even deny having done it. He just argues that it was not an abuse of power or the extrajudicial murder of an American citizen. Yeah, I mean, if you've got somebody on tape, for example, carefully explaining the process and details of how he conducted an outsized influence campaign by using a quid pro quo threat to deny promised assets to a foreign ally as a threat to force the foreign ally to make a domestic policy decision like, let's see, off the top of my head, spitballing, hypothetically firing a prosecutor that's investigating your cokehead son. Okay, that not the kind of crime that carries capital punishment. Maybe, depending on the particular. No, Sergeant Major, executive privilege does not protect Obama in that case. Executive privilege protects the president when the course of his normal duties might otherwise be a crime if a citizen were to do it. And it does not extend to capital crimes. Unlike the foreign sovereigns like the King of England, etc. King of England, he could order someone's execution in front of him without cause, and the law would protect him there. He could do it himself if he wanted to, and the law would protect him there. The law does not protect that use of military strikes by Obama. It doesn't qualify. If it had been in a war zone and Al-Awlaki had been actively engaged with a foreign power conducting war against USA 4, that'd be different, but that is not the case there. So, damn it, I stopped to answer Sergeant Major's question. I got distracted. I lost my spot. Okay, let me look back at the articles and stuff. I'm gonna have to call this one in just a minute anyway. Unfortunately, I got to get to work. Well, not unfortunately. I like making money. Don't get it twisted. So yeah. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and pin it up right there because I did lose my spot. I'm gonna go. So let me summarize. The Omar attack looks like a false flag, right? You got this guy with a little. Let me show you the image of that guy real quick. It looks like a false flag. Look, This guy's got a medicine. Let me see if I can zoom in on that a little bit so you can see it better. Right. It's one of those little medicine droppers. Right. It's one of those little medicine droppers that you use to give your kids baby Tylenol. This is the terrifying weapon. But at the same time, you've got this nurse out here, and she's not the only one. Alex Pretty. Alex Pretty was a nurse, apparently. Apparently, he'd been fired a couple of months ago. He was not currently a nurse at the time that he suicided himself into the ICE agents. But it's a dangerous time right now, guys. At the Battle of Bull Run, nobody thought they were in a civil war. Today, people don't think they're in a civil war. They are wrong. You see what's happening in Minnesota. We've touched briefly. I'm sure many of you have already seen some other videos talking about it. We've touched briefly on what's happening in Virginia. I mean, it's a total communist takeover in the state of Virginia right now. And you've got Eric Swalwell running on. Oh yeah, I'm gonna. If I get elected in California, what is he? Did he say he's running for governor? Yeah. Swalwell saying that he's running for governor, and if he gets elected, he's going to fight
offense. Otherwise,
What would you bring to the table as a governor of California?
Well, you have immense powers as governor of California, and your responsibility is to protect the most vulnerable in the state. So if the president is going to send ICE agents to chase immigrants through the fields where they work, what I'm going to do is make sure that they take off their masks and show their faces, that they show their identification, and if they commit crimes, that they're going to be charged with crimes. If it's falsely imprisoning people, if it's kidnapping, if assault, battery, they're going to be held accountable. I also...
Why aren't we charging the people who attacked the church with kidnapping, assault, and battery? I mean, what the hell? Or how about Larry Krasner?
This is a small bunch of wannabe Nazis. That's what they are. In a country of 350 million, we outnumber them. If we have to hunt you down the way they hunted down Nazis for decades, we will find your identities. We will find you. We will achieve justice. And
Democrats will hunt you down. And don't for a second think that he just means ICE agents, Border Patrol agents. If you don't know what time it is, let me clear it up for you. You are not right now at the beginning of a civil war. You are 5 years into it. We haven't been approaching a civil war for the last 5 years. It's heating up more now. But it started with the Summer of Love. That was when the left started burning buildings, murdering people in the street, and establishing tactical locations with their autonomous zones. You've been in a civil war for the last 5 years. And hey, war's a funny thing. For those of you who haven't been there, y'all, I would go down into the village in Afghanistan. We would walk down there, buy some food in the marketplace, and walk back to base. We'd talk to people. And most of the time, their lives were normal. I mean, they were shitty lives. Pitt Danny says we just are not kinetic. We aren't. Conservatives are not kinetic. But the left is conducting complex OPSEC hygiene campaigns, complex communications networks, and organized, scheduled. Like Alex Preddy was on shift. There was not a protest there. He was on shift as part of a QRF, waiting to be deployed to interfere with ICE operations. That's what time it is, guys. You best start believing in Civil War stories because you're in one. And I know that's kind of a dark note to close on, but I really do have to get out the door and go to work. I gotta go do a gig in North Augusta and then back in Thompson. So at least Thompson's not too far from the house. Y'all be safe out there, guys. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.